It's that time, so why don't we get going? There are handouts in the back if anybody hasn't gotten one yet. And my name's Dave Duchamp. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I'm going to tell you this morning is some introductory information on JMRI, what it is, and how to get hooked up to it. And then we'll get into DecoderPro and give you an introduction to DecoderPro, and I'll finish with some demonstrations with a couple of engines I have on how to change sound and how easy it is with DecoderPro. So let's get going here. What is JMRI? JMRI, Java Model Railroading Interface, is an open source, which means no-cost software for connecting a model railroad layout to a computer and performing various model railroading tasks using your computer. JMRI was and is being developed by a group of model railroaders, programmers, people like me that love computers and also like trains, under the leadership of Bob Jacobson, our co-presenter, who I don't think is here yet. My other co-presenter is Dick Bronson, who's sitting in the front here. He's going to be presenting the next clinic on PanelPro. JMRI uses the Java programming language, and it continues to grow. Things are added to it oftentimes. Every test version has a lot of new stuff in it. How is it organized? This might sound pretty technical, but it's important to understand JMRI if you understand how it's organized. It has a big library of railroading software and several front-end applications, each of which focuses on one type of use, one area of model railroading. All the applications use this common library. The library is about this big, and each of the applications is about this big for comparison. They all reference the same thing. What that means is that from any of the applications, you can do any of the tasks. Like from PanelPro, you can program a decoder if you want, or from DecoderPro, you can run a panel. It's just that when you bring it up, it focuses on decoders if you're in DecoderPro and focuses on panels if you're in PanelPro. And other applications are JMRI Demo and Loco Tools, and a few others. So what computer systems are supported? A bunch of flavors of Windows, Macintosh, Mac OS X, through the current version, and Linux. Several flavors of Linux are also supported. And what model railroad systems? This continues to sort of mushroom. We have LocoNet, all the Digitrax stuff, plus the IntelliBox from Uhlenbrock, a bunch of different lens systems, NCE, CMRI, EasyDCC. I won't go through all of these, but a number of these were just added in the past year, and there's more than, I ran out of space on the slide here to list them all. So what tasks are supported? Well, programming DCC decoders is what we're mainly going to talk about in this talk. Computer panel displays, including a full CTC panel that Dick will take you into. Computer throttles, you can make consist, throw turnouts, including feedback. You can set up routes, which sets up a whole bunch of turnouts, or sensors, which are digital inputs. We have a section called Logic that enables you to do logic for control and automation. You can do many things that it's fairly easy interface to use. You can control your layout lighting. It has a fast clock. You can do things based on the fast clock. You can control signals and a number of other things also. So how to get started? And I apologize to those of you who are already using JMRI because you probably know a lot of this already. So connect your computer to your model railroad layout. And there's instructions on the website on how to do that. Then download JMRI. You may have to download Java depending on what system you're on. If you're on a Mac, you don't because it comes with it. But if you're on other systems, you may have to download Java. The website has instructions that tell you if you need to or not. One download for JMRI contains all the applications. You do one download, it has Panel Pro, Decoder Pro, and the other things I was mentioning. It's pretty large, and CDs are available. There's some instructions in your handout as to how to get a CD if you need one. Then configure JMRI and test the communications. And I'll show you a little bit about configuring and testing the communications. The main thing to remember here is no computer programming at all is required.
Typically special interface cards of some kind between computers.
To do the hookup, yes. And I'll show you the system I have here, how it's hooked up in a second here. What I did is I took down my workshop system. It's a Digitrax. It's got a Digitrax DCS 100 command station here, an old one. And it's wired to this track right here. And I have it connected to the computer by just plugging my LocoNet into this box, which is what you're talking about, the extra hardware you need to connect. This is a local buffer 2, and this is a serial to USB converter, because my computer is a Mac and it doesn't have any serial ports. Macs haven't had serial ports for many years. But this will convert to USB. The latest ones of these, by the way, go directly to USB. You don't have to have this extra little converter on it. And that's all it is to hardware-wise to hook it up. It all plugs together nicely. You may have to go out to Radio Shack and buy a cable or something like that.
Where do you get the local buffer?
You can. Dick is the guy that makes them. You can get them directly from him, but they're also sold by Litchfield Station, and Tony sells them.
We've got 30 to 40 dealers in the U.S. and eight or so countries.
So it's easy to find.
If you have an NCE system or something, you've got a built-in connection.
NCE has a serial port on their systems and a USB on the latest one, I think.
Digitrax is what you use. The Digitrax PR3 will also let you connect their latest thing.
And I've got this hooked, like I said, into the Macintosh laptop here. Now, when you start up Decoder Pro for the first time, yes, sir?
Is there a particular brand of serial interface
USB to serial? If you go on the website, it tells you, it gives you examples of ones that work. We don't know the ones that don't work, but it doesn't mean that one that you might find in your local store doesn't work. But these are ones that do work, and if you get one of those, you're pretty sure it's going to work.
The connection to your computer is all pretty system specific.
Yeah.
So your system may have an RS-232 port on it already, like an NCE. You've got to have an adapter to go to USB. If you're using a local buffer USB or the new Digitrax PR3, that's a USB device already. Both of those. So it's up to what your system is.
So when you bring it up for the first time, this window opens up. And this is the configuration panel. This is where you tell JMRI what command station you're using and what computer you're using, how you hooked up to your computer, what your baud rate is, etc. So first thing we'll do is to tell it we have the LocoNet, local buffer 2, that's this device here. This is how we're hooked up. And we'll give it the baud rate. We tell it we're on a DCS 100. That's that's the command station we're using. It needs to know that so it knows how to send out commands to it. And you have to tell it what serial port it's on. Now I know with this adapter on the Macintosh, I don't want the Bluetooth or a modem or anything like that. I want the one that has CU on it. There's a note on this on the website too that tells you to look for a CU. And you wouldn't want a modem. You're looking for a CU, it's obvious which one to choose. On Windows, you can get into, what is it called? Windows?
It's a hardware device manager.
Hardware device manager, and look for your connection. And you should find it there. And then it tells you whether to go with COM4 or COM5 or COM6 or whatever, the way Windows does its business. Now, last thing we'll do is we'll select the programmer default. And I always select the comprehensive because it gives you all the different options on a decoder instead of the basic. So here we are. We hit the save button. And all this configuration information is written to disk. And you'll get this box comes up. When your updated preferences will take effect when the program is restarted. And it asks if you want to quit now. And to this you should answer yes. The reason you have to quit and restart is that based on all this information about which command station, which computer and all that, JMRI has to do a very extensive initialization when it starts up. And the easiest way and the safest way and the most reliable way to do this is by actually stopping and restarting. So that's why it's done this way instead of backing out everything and putting it back in. Most of us that program for JMRI would much prefer to put in new things than to try to retrofit that business. It's possible, but it would be probably not reliable.
Windows users are used to having to restart things.
He's a Windows user. But he mostly likes to use Linux, right? Now, let me point out that preferences must be set for each JMRI application. Each application has a separate preference file. This is an advantage because you can start Decoder Pro on a workshop system like I do, and then when I go to Panel Pro, I'll use a different set of connections. On Panel Pro, I also have a CMRI connection in addition to a LocoNet connection. So when you restart, you get this startup thing. Not sure what's going on the right side here. Ignore it. It tells you which version of Decoder Pro we're running. It says it's connected via the local buffer 2, and it gives me the serial port that it's connected with, which version of Java it's running. And it offers me these keys. These two buttons here don't appear except in Decoder Pro. Now I'll do an example of how you connect and how do you test your connection to make sure it's good. The first thing you should do before you jump in and try to program a decoder or something is to make sure that your connection is good. Most of the problems that we see on the user list, the user Yahoo list, are when people have trouble, it's because their connection is, something's wrong with their connection. Either they got a cable that didn't have all the wires in it or something like that. So first thing to do is to test your connection. And with LocoNet, you pull down LocoNet menu and you do Monitor LocoNet. Brings up this window. Then if you plug a throttle in and select the locomotive, you'll see traffic on the LocoNet. Here it says set speed of loco in slot 2 to 16. You don't have to know what this means. It's just if it looks like it's reasonable, that means that your computer is correctly reading in things from the LocoNet.